Paris, 1925. The city looked calm on the surface. But inside luxury hotel rooms and private meetings, one of the most unbelievable scams in modern history was already underway. Because somehow, a man was preparing to sell the Eiffel Tower twice. The man behind the scheme wasn't a government minister, a politician, or a powerful businessman. He was a professional scammer named Victor Lustig, and somehow he convinced respected businessmen that he legally controlled the Eiffel Tower. What made the scam so dangerous was how believable it sounded at the time. By the 1920s, Paris was still recovering from the devastation of World War I. The Eiffel Tower was famous today, but back then many Parisians still disliked it. Writers and artists had spent decades attacking the structure, calling it ugly, industrial, and embarrassing. Newspapers frequently complained about the massive cost of maintaining the tower's iron framework. Victor Lustig paid attention. Born in what is now the Czech Republic, Lustig had spent years studying people. He learned languages, dressed elegantly, and perfected the art of confidence. Unlike violent criminals, he understood that manipulation could be far more profitable than force. He also understood one critical rule: people trust authority when it looks expensive. Lustig carefully forged official French government documents and contacted several major scrap metal dealers across Paris. In the letters, he claimed to be a high-ranking government official overseeing a confidential national project. The project was shocking. According to Lustig, the French government had quietly decided to dismantle the Eiffel Tower and sell the metal for scrap. Public backlash would be enormous if the decision became public too early, so secrecy was essential, and strangely enough, the story made sense. The Eiffel Tower had originally been built for the 1889 World's Fair and was never intended to stand permanently. Many people assumed the structure would eventually be removed anyway. Lustig knew that if a lie already sounded partially believable, people would fill in the missing logic themselves. To make the operation look legitimate, he invited the dealers to a luxury meeting at the famous Hôtel de Crillon in Paris. Everything about the event screamed power: elegant rooms, official papers, chauffeured transportation, quiet government language. Lustig moved through the meetings with complete confidence, speaking calmly as if the sale of the Eiffel Tower was simply another unpleasant administrative duty. The dealers were stunned. Owning the scrap rights to the Eiffel Tower could make someone unimaginably wealthy. But among the businessmen, one man stood out immediately. His name was André Poisson. Poisson was newer to the elite circles of Parisian industry and desperately wanted respect from the older, established dealers. Lustig noticed the insecurity instantly. That insecurity became the center of the scam. During a private limousine ride through Paris, with the Eiffel Tower itself visible in the distance, Lustig quietly hinted that government officials often expected unofficial payments in exchange for helping contracts move forward. In other words, he suggested a bribe. Ironically, this made the entire story feel even more real. To Poisson, the corruption sounded believable because corruption already existed in politics and business. Lustig wasn't pretending to be perfect. He was pretending to be realistically corrupt. That detail changed everything. Poisson agreed to pay. The money transferred into Lustig's hands, and almost immediately, the scammer vanished from France. By the time Poisson realized the truth, Victor Lustig was already gone. But the most unbelievable part of the story came next. Poisson was too humiliated to report the crime publicly. Imagine explaining to newspapers and police that you had been tricked into buying the Eiffel Tower. The embarrassment protected the scam. When Lustig realized no public investigation had started, he became bolder than ever. Astonishingly, he returned to Paris and attempted the exact same scam a second time. For a while, it worked again. But during the second attempt, one potential victim became suspicious and contacted authorities. Lustig escaped before police could arrest him, fleeing Europe entirely. And still, his criminal career continued. Over the following years, Victor Lustig carried out fraud schemes across the United States and Europe. He became involved in counterfeit money operations and elaborate financial scams so sophisticated that law enforcement struggled to keep up. At one point, he even managed to deceive notorious gangster Al Capone in a financial trick that somehow ended with Capone respecting him. Eventually, however, his luck collapsed. American authorities finally arrested Lustig after years of investigation into counterfeit operations. He was sent to Alcatraz, the infamous prison surrounded by freezing water and powerful currents. The man who once sold the Eiffel Tower died behind bars. But his most famous scam survived because it revealed something uncomfortable about human psychology. People assume giant lies are easier to detect. In reality, enormous lies often succeed because they feel too outrageous to invent. Most victims don't ask whether something is possible. They ask whether everyone else already believes it. Victor Lustig understood that better than almost anyone. A man selling the Eiffel Tower should have sounded completely insane. Instead, it sounded too unbelievable to be fake.